try to make sure it's downloaded so it doesn't get hung up in the internet. Yeah. We just while we talking about the project.
Exactly. Yeah. I've been talking to our fiber guy about that a little bit more.
We can get you faster.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope.
No, we can.
Yeah.
At least with emergency antenna or something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll have a distributed antenna system on the site, which will at least enhance the quality for a while.
Yeah.
And then, that's probably too long for this meeting, but we'll get more fiber providers coming to the site. There'll be more options for this to happen.
Fiber is definitely providers.
Let me go get that clicker.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
I do want to call to welcome you. We're going to get that figured out. We do know it's a little muffled, but we wanted to welcome you. Hopefully you got some food. I want to thank our partners as well as the host for tonight. Avaio Digital is here to provide project updates as well as to provide answers to questions that have been submitted. The format will be kind of similar to what we as the city of Wrightsville hosted, but it will be slightly different. We do see that there are tables out and they are here to engage with community. So there will be a presentation with updates, and then there'll be a panel discussion, and then tabletop conversations with representatives from Avaio as well as our utility partners and the chambers here. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for providing the food for today. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Buckley, on behalf of Jay. We do have several of our elected officials here. If you'll please wave your hands. We have Representative Denise Ennett. We have School Board Director Kiera Shepherd, as well as District 9 Justice of the Peace, Ms. Tina Ward. I do see others in the audience. Thank you all for being here as well. And I'll turn it over to Tom Nessel with Avaio with project updates.
Maybe I'll just turn it off. I'm not. Test. Test. Uh-oh. Hello. Test.
Put it on.
Test. Sorry.
Anybody else with tech experience?
We can talk loud.
Test. It's pretty loud.
Pray in here to start praying, because guess what? That's what is meant to happen. Just try to stop progress. This has been working all day. It has not had any issues. Thank y'all so much. Now we may have to project until we can get it going, but this is not going to stop the conversation in the community that we built today.
Great.
Okay, so appreciate everyone's patience getting the tech figured out. And until we do, my colleague John and I are going to project. My name is Tom Nessel. I'm a project manager with Avaio. Avaio is the company developing this project. And basically the format for tonight, the mayor touched on, but we're going to present about the company, about what we're doing, about the project. And then we're going to get asked some questions in a panel type format, and then we'll have breakout tables so we can try to get as many specific questions answered as we can. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We appreciate everyone coming out. I know people have questions, and hopefully after this we'll have them a lot of them answered. And again, appreciate everyone coming out tonight. And And without further ado, we're going to get into it. My colleague John's going to lead us off here, and I'll support, and then we'll swap. So we'll get into it.
Thank you, Tom. My name is John Malone. I work with Avaio. As you all know, we're looking to build a data center project in Pulaski County. And I would echo what Tom said. Louder? All right.
Give him a mic. He can't talk.
Yeah, I can't talk that loud. My name is John Malone. I work with Avaio. We are working to build a data center project in Pulaski County, as Tom mentioned. And again, thank you all for coming out. We very much appreciate you listening to us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through, before we get into the details of the project, well, Tom will give you chapter and verse. I'm just going to talk about the things that we're committing to when we come here and how we're going to be transparent with all of you people to make sure that you know what we're doing. Transparent, yes, transparent. Very quickly, what does this mean for Pulaski County? This is a big project. You all know that. This project is going to create 1,000 jobs of construction for 2 years over the period of construction. How's that? All right, perfect. This project is going to create 1,000 jobs in construction over the period of time, the 2 years it'll take to build this facility, and more than 70 jobs permanent. These are good jobs. We'll walk through the details of those in a moment. I just want to give you the headlines. It's going to create about at least $10 million per year of tax revenue for Pulaski County. Entergy is here tonight. They're going to be providing the power. It's 150 megawatts. It's a lot of power. We are going to go through quickly just the design of the project and how it is that we're going to minimize we're going to minimize the disruption to your community as much as possible, and the engagements we're going to make in terms of the commitments we're going to make in terms of jobs and noise, water, all the things that you folks are rightfully concerned about. Next slide, please. When we do this, there's 4 things that we make commitments to. There's other things we make, but there's 4 fundamental things that we commit to. And we'll get into details on this. This is not just me talking. We'll get into details as to how we're backing this up. We are going to protect the grid, and we're going to protect the folks who are ratepayers. Any better? You can't hear me? How's that?
You got to speak up, so hold it close and speak way up.
All right, how's that? Any better? All right. Number 1, we're not going to make other folks pay for our power. The power connection that we need for this project and the actual electricity we're getting, we're paying for that. We're paying for the entirety of that. We have an agreement in place with Entergy that captures that. It is auditable. You can look at it and see the way we set this up. We are paying for all the improvements of the grid that we need for this project. We will not, nothing that we're going to do is going to lead to an increase in the power rates for anyone who's a ratepayer in this territory. Number 2, we minimize our footprint. And what that means is we are putting in place equipment, buffers, policies, procedures that make sure that, number 1, you're not going to hear this thing, you're not going to hear this project beyond the project boundaries. Number 2, we are not going to use a tremendous amount of water. The water that we're going to be used for this facility is for the sanitary uses and for irrigation. That's it. This project is going to use less water because of the systems that we're using than 10 acres of cornfield. You'll hear the term over and over again in this business, a closed loop system. But what that really means is the water that we're using for the cooling is within the building itself and is recycled, just to be clear. Number 3, we prioritize hiring local. We prioritize using local businesses. Tom will get into more details on this, but our general contracting partner is an Arkansas-based firm, Navels, and they recruit with local trades and local subs. And then the last thing, I'll say it again, we are holding ourselves accountable to this. We are going to give you the numbers, show you the numbers as this project goes, as we build it. We are transparent. We fully appreciate that this is a big project coming to your community and you want to know what we're doing. It is in our interest and your interest to make sure that we're telling you what we're doing. Just touching on this again. We are funding all the infrastructure that's required to serve this project. We're building the lines, we're paying for the lines, we're working with Entergy, we are paying them. None of that is going to come down on our new wall. We have a dedicated rate, we have an agreement in place with Entergy to buy this power that effectively ring fences all those costs. So we're paying for it. And as I said, in an effort to be as transparent as possible, we're going to tell you how much energy we're using. We're going to report it to you. We're going to report it to the community publicly. This is the annual, this is the peak amount of energy we've used. This is how much energy we use over the course of the year. All that is going to be, we're committing to making sure that you are aware of those numbers. We build these things to be as isolated for the community as possible. So in this instance, because y'all are familiar with the site, 145th Street, there's enough room there, and our design is set up so that we are set back, and there are going to be trees, significant amount of trees all the way around us to make sure that this project is buffered from, no, you won't be able to see these buildings from the edge of the property. We've explicitly put the site in place to make sure that that's the case. We, as I said, closed loop system water. We monitor our water. We'll tell you how much water we're using. We'll report that. On noise. I lost it. Okay. All right, sounds good.
So we put this speaker a little bit more in the crowd, if it, unless it projects well.
Okay.
Thank you all for your patience.
Can you hear me? Outstanding. Where was I?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a dumb question. That's a dumb question. That's on me.
How much water you going to use?
Up to my mouth. I'll start from the beginning here. Absolutely, on this side. Amen. Number one, I say we're minimizing our footprint. We are making ourselves as not disruptive as possible to your community. We are siting this project in a way that is going to be isolated from any line of sight from anyone in the community. We talk here, because this is something we use in other communities about an attractive design, but you'll never see the building anyway unless you're working there. I think they're good looking buildings. These are what's called dark sky compliant designs, which means all the lights are going to be shining downwards, which effectively means it doesn't create a lot of light pollution. Again, not visible from outside the boundaries of the project. Water, again, closed loop system, de minimis water use, really for sanitary, for bathrooms, and for irrigation. That's for the full use of it. We are going to use recycled water where available. We do rainwater capture as well, and importantly, in places, we not only minimize the footprint, but when we can, we offset it. So we're going to be supporting water conservation programs in the county as well. On noise, a bunch of studies have already been done, but we're continuing to work on design to make sure that we're using the quietest possible equipment that can run these facilities. They're using buffers, architectural buffers, berms. We're using baffling technologies, but most importantly, we're leaving a tremendous amount of trees around the entirety of the site boundary, which will actually attenuate that noise even further. And then just for emissions, for carbon emissions, we have emergency backup generators that only are run in the event of a grid outage. We do test those about 50 hours a year, and we time those testings to be as non-disruptive as possible. But when we do use those generators, we also buy carbon credits to offset the emissions that are associated with this. This is all things that you can audit. This is all information we're going to make available to you as members of the community. As I said, one of our GC, general contracting partners, is Nabolts. Nabolts is Arkansas-based. Nabolts works with local subcontractors, works with local trades. We will be prioritizing using local labor, local trades. And because these are new technologies, we're working with local educational institutions, including academies of Central Arkansas, on training programs for trades, to train younger folks in these industries, the jobs that will actually be created by 21st century industries. And then the last one is, again, it's just, we prioritize this. And I keep saying we're transparent, which it just works. We actually will make this information available to you. We will put this in writing and hold ourselves accountable to it. We will report this. We'll have an independent third party look at this and audit it to make sure that we're just not making stuff up. And we will have a direct line. We provide communities with an individual person within the company who is the liaison for that community. So you know who, one next to you know who to talk to when you have an issue or you have a question. I'm going to hand over to Tom to take you through the actual specifics of the project. We are available, obviously, afterwards to talk, and we're going to go into the questions after Tom's presentation. But I thank you for your time and patience.
There's another deck. Can you bring the other deck up? Try to make a full screen. I know it's not. Okay, it's probably going to be small, but while he figures that out, just kind of take you guys through some of the details of the project. Kind of highlight that there are some regulatory pieces that currently exist. We've been going through those. Want to highlight that in this presentation. So thinking about the project, thinking about citing a project, we in general as a data center development company want to go where the land use is generally in accordance with data center development. And so we are in the unincorporated area of the county here. As you guys know the area better than I do certainly, but there's steel galvanizing facility here, metal wall panel manufacturing, some other manufacturing facilities. And there's no zoning codes in the county. But the county did recently develop and adopt a future land use plan. That future land use plan calls out the project area as an I-1 area. And the I-1 land use in the definition specifically calls out data centers as a intended use for that land. So when it comes to us citing the facility, these are factors that we consider. What you're seeing, the top is, for what it's worth, the top is a rendering of the facility we're talking about. We're about 1,000 feet from 145th Street. These buildings, the first building's on the left, the second building's on the right. Behind the second building is the on-site substation. So that's what you're seeing on the screen here. And then if you could scroll down a little bit, Teddy. I'm just highlighting the future land use map. So on the left is the county more broadly, and then zoomed in where the star is the area we're talking about. And so we're just off of 145th Street, basically behind the corrections warehouse. Yep. So the next thing you're seeing on the screen is our site plan that we have submitted to the county. So this plan shows the current project we're talking about, which is buildings 1 and 2, we just saw in the rendering, and then the first substation behind the first building. We have a potential future plan that's part of the site plan for some additional buildings. But this is what we've gone through with the county. So to talk about that a little bit, we first touched base with the county planning department back in 2024, met with them to make sure we understand the requirements of the county for developing here, and then we worked with our engineering team to develop the site plan and engineering plans to submit to them that we're compliant with the site plan requirements, the development plans, the ordinance that currently exist. Since then, we've been working on this site plan, and we've pushed the permitting process forward. One of those permits is the driveway permit. In order to install these driveways that you see on 145th Street, the main entrance will be just west of the correctional warehouse. The County Road and Bridge have approved that driveway permit. The second piece of regulation is when we're putting these buildings where there currently are no buildings, obviously that creates area where water can't get through. And so part of our engineering plan is the stormwater pollution and prevention plan. So what happens in the storm event? How are the local waterways impacted? And the DEQ regulates that, the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. And so we developed that plan with our engineers, submitted it, they reviewed it, we made any edits from their comments, and that's been approved. Also, as part of this permitting process, we've done cultural studies. So we hired basically a cultural consultant, and they look at historical land uses on the property to see what was there, if there are any artifacts that we should be careful of or preserve, and they actually go out and they dig holes in areas where there could have been prior historically significant artifacts left behind. They found nothing. Also, we did rare species surveys. So we hired environmentalists, they look at the project, and they determine if there are any endangered or potentially endangered species that could be impacted. And so we did the survey. The survey said basically there was one species of bat that could nest in the trees during a certain period of year, so we're required to clear trees outside of that sensitive period of time. So there was no other rare species habitat identified in that process. The other piece that we did was a wetland delineation. So wetlands, environmentally sensitive, we want to avoid them. The delineation was done, and we've specifically designed the site to minimize the impact to those more environmentally sensitive areas. So we have 3 culvert crossings shown on the screen here. They're very small, but nonetheless they cross over waters, and the buildings themselves are not located in any wetland or floodplain areas. And that was a key part of finding the site and determining that we can develop it, right? So from a land use perspective, as far as the current regulations go, data centers are an allowed use. It's a large piece of property. We can avoid sensitive environmental areas. And then really the other aspect of the site selection is we can make these buildings such that they're not visible from any other property. And those are all attractive points here. So the summary of that last slide was just that we've acquired the permits necessary to start earthwork. You can go ahead to the next slide, the top one. So to talk a little bit about data center use in general, right? So we're a developer, so that means we come in, we develop the property, we connect to utilities, we build the building, design it and build it, and then we lease space in the building to an end user. Those end users are companies that you're way more familiar with, right? The Googles, Amazons, the tech companies that actually install computers in the building and do computing functions on them. That means everything from, the photos that are saved on your phone, a lot of those are actually still saved on the data center. Your texts, example I give a lot is when you buy gas and then you swipe a debit card, that goes to the data center. This document saved on the data center, whatever's being recorded right now, that all gets saved in the data center, right? The cloud is actually a real place. So we're all using these are critical infrastructure, and basically what I'm trying to say here is we all use them every day, and there's benefits to having data centers close by. You get more access to these facilities. From a power standpoint, again, I know we've covered that a little bit, but to talk a little bit about the power process, right? We're not just jumping on the grid and dispersing the costs amongst people, right? We engaged with Entergy back, I think, in 2023, and they did their first formal study to determine if they could serve the project in 2024. So Entergy has a standard process where you can apply, you pay for these studies to be done, and that's what we did. So Entergy did a first round study that determines what happens if we were to connect this project. What's the impacts upstream? What's the impacts downstream? Can we reliably serve this project? And so part two of that is, what would it take? What's the cost? You know, what else is needed in order to serve this project? And so they first did that in 2024. They did the next round, which basically gets a little more specific. And then once they determined that they could reliably serve the project, they negotiated a contract with us that basically says, Avaio, if you want to connect to the grid, here's the timeline, which, by the way, is early 2028, in terms of when the project, these two buildings will be operational. But here's the cost. You're responsible to pay for the cost of whatever infrastructure is needed, of whatever engineering is needed, and whatever power is needed. You're responsible for it. And again, that's for 150 megawatts of power, substantial amount of power. So the other point to cover here on the power basis is there is a regulatory body that oversees this process, and that's called the Arkansas Public Services Commission. So it's not unregulated, it's very regulated. And so in order to enter into this contract and to do what we're doing, it has to go through the Arkansas Public Services Commission. Thanks, Terry. Moving on to the waterfront. So again, we started talking with Central Arkansas Water back in 2024, shared some potential water use numbers, what can you serve to the site, etc. So Central Arkansas Water looked at the existing infrastructure. There's a significant water line on 145th Street that is there now, and they determined that could serve about 800 gallons a minute, which equates to roughly 1 million gallons a day. We have designed these facilities such that they will only consume 8,000 gallons per day. Those first two buildings, 8,000 gallons a day. That's, to John's point, significantly less than 10 acres of cornfield. And we can commit to that in writing. Because there's a lot of information out there that gets passed around, and I just wanted to make that clear. And Central Arkansas Water can say this part better than me, but what I've been made aware of is the reservoirs that serve Central Arkansas Water can provide up to 120 million gallons a day on a daily basis. The current average demand is 67 million gallons a day. And again, Central Arkansas Water can correct me if I'm a little off there, but that's just to say that there's a lot of supply, and our actual water consumption be quite low. On the sewer front, like John said, the only thing flowing to the sanitary sewer system will be from toilets, sinks, anything that at your home. It's the same, I'm not articulating this well, sorry. But toilets, sinks, etc. There's no processed water being discharged into the sewer whatsoever for this project. Shifting a little bit to talk about some benefits to the project, workforce readiness, jobs, tax revenue. So John mentioned we'll have 70 permanent high-wage jobs for the first two buildings. That keeps those two buildings operational. A lot of that is craft labor, people who focus on mechanical and electrical systems and how to maintain them. So those will be the bulk of the jobs. to maintain the facility. There's certainly other jobs, there's security, basic building maintenance needs, etc. But that's the permanent jobs for these two buildings. And as John mentioned, there will be 1,000 construction jobs. We're working with Matt Holtz and their JV partner, Yates Construction, on a local outreach program to make sure we're capturing any local labor that can partake in constructing the facilities. Like John mentioned, we're committed to workforce preparedness. We want to help be in the community and make sure people are trained up to be able to work in these facilities. We're supporting and talking to the Academies of Central Arkansas as a point to that to make sure we can help make sure that local people can work in the facility. Lastly, on here, the first two buildings alone, $10 million of annual property tax will flow to the county. The way the rate works, basically 80% of that will go to the school district. Sorry. John talked about noise a little bit. So there are really two things that emit noise from the data center. One is the air conditioners, and one is the emergency backup generators. As John mentioned, the backup generators only run in an emergency unless they're being tested for 10 minutes a month, one at a time, right? So, and the generators will be enclosed in the building to make sure the sound is attenuated, and they will be muffled to make sure the sound is attenuated. The air conditioners will be in a yard next to the building. The air conditioners are designed to be low ambient noise fans. So they we've basically selected equipment to minimize the noise impact of the air conditioners. Then they will be enclosed in the sound attenuating wall all the way around that yard. And as was mentioned, there will be a significant setback to any other property line. The closest property line to the second building is about 800 feet from that second building. We will leave as much of the existing buffer meaning the existing trees. Yeah, I mean, again, you guys are probably all more familiar with the area than me, but the site itself it's been used for timbering operations. It hasn't been cut in 20 years, so there's significant existing trees there now. So basically, what I was trying to communicate there is that significant buffer and those trees will substantially mitigate the noise generated by the facility. And even if the backup generators were to be running in an emergency outage, the noise at the property line will be under 55 decibels, which is basically conversational. And that's to the closest property. John also mentioned, and I kind of skipped over this, but you won't be able to see the buildings from the road, right? So just to iterate that point again, the buildings are about 1,000 feet from 145th Street. Lastly on here, fire suppression. So our buildings are designed to be compliant with the National Fire Protection Agency code. And there are state-of-the-art fire suppression systems in the building. And there's also some additional requirements from certain insurers. And that's boring and probably too nuanced, but the point is that there are insurance companies that mandate you have the highest level of fire suppression designed into a building so that they're more comfortable insuring you, basically. The last thing I'll say on fire suppression is the electrical equipment in the building will be surrounded by what's called a 2-hour rated wall, right? So it encloses any electrical equipment, and the idea is, and this is common in building design, a 1-hour or 2-hour wall. It attenuates the fire so that there's ample response time for emergencies to reach the site. So we're paying attention to fire suppression, noise, setbacks, etc. And the last section I want to cover here is a little bit about our public outreach so far. We
we are committed to being a good neighbor. We have followed the regulatory process that exists, and we haven't done that in secret. There's been no backdoor meetings. We first reviewed the project with county planning, like I said, back in 2024. You can look at those documents. We reached out to our state reps basically for the first time in spring of 25. And then importantly, we didn't come out with a press announcement until this year, early this year. And that's due to, there are a lot of things that have to happen to even potentially make this project real, right? Can we connect to power infrastructure? Can we connect to water infrastructure? It's not, we want to make sure that those ducks can get lined up or can even be potentially possible before sharing that the project is real, because we want the project to be real before we make public announcements about it. We continue to meet with local officials. We're committed to continuing to do so. And we've set up a community advisory group. So there's some local elected officials that we've invited to join so that we can communicate effectively what's going on with the project to the leaders of the community so that the right information can get out there. I know a lot of you have questions. I know from working with some of the elected officials that they've been fielding a lot of questions, and we've been doing our best to help answer them. So in conclusion, we are committed to being a good neighbor. We have gone through the necessary existing approvals thus far. We have the permits to start earthwork. Entergy has studied the grid, determined it can reliably serve the project. We have that executed agreement. That requires us to pay our full freight. And then our water infrastructure and our water demands are well articulated and understood. So I just wanted to make sure we covered the processes that the project had gone through. So thank you guys for your time. I think at this point, we're gonna break up and do some questions from Justice of the Peace Ward and from Mayor Rankin. So after the questions from the elected officials, we're gonna have breakout tables, and you guys can approach us and get your individual questions answered. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. At this time, JP Ward and I will field some questions that have been submitted from community that have been asked at previous meetings. Yeah, we might have to. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna pass it. So we're just gonna do what we gotta do. And we'll just ask the questions and then give Avaio or any other utility partners time to answer so that you get it directly from the entity that's responsible. So at this time, we'll ask a few questions that have been submitted from community meetings, as well as that have been asked to people on the Citizen Advisory Committee.
First of all, good evening, and thank everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for coming and finding this important, and thank you, Avaio, for coming to address the people. The first question is, why'd you choose this site?
You want me to go first and you can back up or something like that? The principal things are, when we're looking for property, is what is the infrastructure, aka is there power available to the site with minimal upgrades required to serve the site? The site has power lines running up the east side of it, so directly connected to the site. A water situation we covered in the presentation quite a bit. And then the next thing we look at, again, is that land use. Is the land use, what are the land use requirements? What is the regulatory regime our data centers allow? Again, within the current code, they are. So we move forward on that front. And then lastly, I would say, can we minimize, again, that visual impact, that noise impact, and can we totally avoid environmentally sensitive wetland areas? And so we like the site for all of those reasons, and that's why we're here.
There was a follow-up to that one is, given that the county as well as other counties have similar
project sites, why specifically Pulaski County off of 145th Street?
Yeah, it's a large, flat site with enough space that we can build a facility like this and not have it be visible or disruptive. We can connect to the grid in a way that minimizes the amount of new infrastructure that has to be built, which is also disruptive. And to Tom's point, this area is set aside exclusively for industrial use.
Hey, this next question is, what would be the impact on local power prices, and how can we be sure that Avaio is paying the fair share? They pointed to. Says, what will be the effect on local power prices, and how can we be sure that Avaio is paying their fair share?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ventrell Thompson. I work with Entergy Arkansas, and as you've heard stated here tonight, Avaio is going to be paying the full cost of the infrastructure needed to serve their facilities. And so additional residential rates will not be impacted because of this project. In fact, any of the data centers that are being announced and are being built, we've implemented what we call Fair Share Plus pledge, which makes sure that all of those data centers are going to be responsible for covering all of the costs necessary to serve their facilities. And those costs are baked into contracts that are approved, legally binding contracts that are approved by the Public Service Commission. And that's on every one of the hyperscale data centers that will be announced in the state. That's the way we're approaching the way we provide service, requiring the data centers to make sure that they pay the cost so you don't have to.
All right, you're gonna get a chance to, they're gonna have a table. You're gonna get a chance to follow up with them on that. Next question. What are the benefits of data centers beyond just taxes?
To start with, the jobs that are created. And again, we're very clear, this is a big facility. 70 jobs aren't a huge number of jobs, but these are good paying jobs. And there are benefits to the fact that it's not too many, because you're not gonna have an increase in traffic coming and going to the facility. But really, jobs is number one. There's also been shown repeatedly in independent studies, and we're happy to share it, not from us, but from independent folks, that have shown that, especially in areas where new facilities like this are built, there's a knock-on effect to the broader economy, to the tune of 3 or 4 jobs. Some say 4, some say 3, but multiples of the actual jobs that are created. That's the primary benefit.
Yeah, let me follow up on that. So we do know that these are gonna be some technical jobs. So what if the people that are gonna be employed there, we would like for them to live in our community. So how can you help make that possible where we have like some affordable housing and some stuff, for y'all to live in?
Yeah, so what we'd like to do is help train the workforce for people that are already living here. And that's part of our idea behind supporting the academies. We want to train people who are here already to be able to work in the data center. I might have forgotten part of your question.
That's okay. But what if, most of our people that live in our area are elderly or older people that, they're retired, they're done working. So we want to make it so that if you want us to live near a data center, make us feel like you want to live near a data center.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think part of this is a good topic that we can continue in the community advisory group, right? Because these are the things that we want to be hearing that we might not know already. And so while we don't have anything firmly set up in terms of housing, that's something that we'd love to continue to work with you on through that venue and directly to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
So we did touch on jobs, and 70 is not a lot, as you said. And you said 1,000 jobs for construction. Can you talk about the subcontractor relationships that NAPOs may be able to hire locally for some of those jobs, as well as being a good neighbor? What does that look like for direct local hire and maintaining those hires throughout the project? And I know that you said 70 is only for the first 2 buildings. Right. Is there any projections for future development and jobs?
We want to kind of keep the focus on those first 2 buildings because anything beyond them is speculative at this point. We don't have power contracts for those additional buildings, and so the real material thing that's concrete going to happen are those first 2 buildings. And so the jobs will grow with scale if the first phase is successful, it's accepted, and we continue to grow. In terms of the local workforce, one of the reasons that we partner with Apple specifically is that they are a large local GC, and they have better relationships than we do locally with subcontractors and with the local labor market. And so we're going to rely on them, and we're crafting plans together, again, along with that community advisory group and getting that feedback in terms of what specific things can we do to make sure we're outreaching to anybody in this room who might be in craft labor and the community at large.
Can I just ask something?
Okay.
One of the things that I mentioned before was that there would be a direct line to us. We get inbounds from folks for other projects that we have. And we've gotten some for here as well, of folks saying, I am a contractor. I do the following things that may be relevant to this project. We pass that on to NAPOs and say, take a look at this person. This individual is actually looking for employment with a trade or a sub that would work with you, and they're in the area. We make sure that those people's voices are heard when they actually give inbounds to us saying they want to do something with the project.
Okay, I want to phrase this question right. How loud is this data center going to be?
Not that. That's an engineering.
Also, it's asked about schools.
Oh, right, yeah. So I know there's definitely some concern because Daisy Bates isn't far away. You will absolutely not hear the project in any way from Daisy Bates.
You're the first company to do this. Hold on.
So we have, again, just to go back a little bit, right? We have engineered our building with its equipment specifically to be low noise emissions, right? And then again, we are paying a lot of attention to this because it is community concern, and we're hearing it. You don't want to hear it, and we don't want you to hear it. And so we are working with our suppliers again to supply those air conditioners with very low noise emissions in the first place, and putting in enough sound attenuation measures so you are not going to hear it off campus. In an emergency run situation, there will be a 55 or under noise limit at the property line. We did hire an engineering firm to specifically look at that and study that, and we will commit to monitoring that after the building is built to make sure that our design that we've paid these engineers to do is compliant with their noise study. So we will commit to those figures.
We've mentioned about it being heavy timber and trees as the buffer. Are trees going to be replanted that are removed, and or can they be planted for the loss of trees to increase oxygen production as well as wildlife preservation? And then also, does the heat affect the trees that are around?
On the trees, yes. I mean, there will be trees that will be eliminated to make room for those buildings. Absolutely, that's a fair question. But we will be leaving the trees around the boundaries we discussed, and then we'll be replanting in areas where they were cut down once the landscaping plans we just put in place. So we will be replanting trees. On the heat, you've seen all that stuff in the press on heat. It's absolutely something that people are talking about. The work that we've done and the work that we've seen, a lot of the heat that's associated with data centers that we've seen, and I'm not an expert on this, so I will happily give you folks information on it as we get it. But there's a heat island effect in some cases where there's a lot of land that's cleared for a data center. For that reason, among others, we're leaving as many trees and planting additional trees to make sure that that heat island effect is not shown here.
And to just add on to that, the way we're setting the campus up is so that off of the roads, it's going to be greenery. It's not going to be a flat parking lot paved everywhere. Part of the advantage of, I mean, if you want to consider it an advantage, there's 70 employees working here daily. That's that number of parking spots. So we don't need a massive, Walmart style parking lot that creates more of a heat island effect. And so the areas that are not specifically the data center will be green.
And then there's one question that ties to that regarding the heat and the trees is relating to electricity usage by the homeowners. So that was one of the questions that came, which is, will the heat increase the homeowners' electric bill? And then that in turn turns into higher electric prices.
No, the heat island effect.
Just I can add to that from a more engineering standpoint. But so I'm going to put it pretty simply. I'm going to point at the screen, so forgive me. But like here is our chiller equipment yard, right? And so those are taking the heat from this facility and rejecting it outside, and the fans are dispersing it, right? And sorry, maybe that was too fast. But like here's the building. Here's the mechanical equipment. And again, we've tried to be thoughtful about this, but in where it's sitting on the property to minimize the effect. But again, building here, and then to the left is that mechanical equipment. And it rejects some heat, so there's a little bit of heat coming out there in the summertime, just like if you were running an air conditioner, the heat on the outside of your air conditioner is hot. But that heat dissipates very quickly. And partly to your point about trees and greenery, they help absorb and reject that heat and disperse it further. So that's another reason why the setbacks are so valuable, right? If you're 800 feet from the nearest house, that heat dissipates in a scale of tens of feet, not thousands, right? So something we pay attention to, we're looking at, and we want, we don't want to impact anybody's power bills by heating up the air outside their home. And what I'm saying is, the way we've designed the campus, there's not going to be a heat island effect outside of the building footprint.
How much water are you going to use, and how will you deal with the wastewater?
We will use 8,000 gallons a day of potable water from Central Arkansas Water from the existing water line on 145th Street. And about 4,000 gallons of that will flow to the sanitary sewer system at the 145th Street Sewer District. And that, again, is strictly toilets, sinks, and sanitary sewer.
A gallon of water from toilets from 2 buildings?
4,000.
A lot of gallons of water. I think that's what
If you could hold off on the comments, we're gonna keep it in this format so we can get to the questions.
Could I just expand on that?
I can expand on that, right? So, leaving engineering aside, the ballpark, that figure that people use for sanitary sewer needs is about 25 gallons per employee per 8-hour shift, right? So that's the ballpark. So if you have 70 people, we've included some additional wiggle room there to make sure we're providing the right numbers.
So, Tad, did you have anything you want to add to that? All right. If we could, there's gonna be time. We've set it up to where we have time to be able to ask individual questions. We want to get through the questions so that we can be respectful of everyone's voice and time. So the next question is, how will you ensure that there isn't any light pollution from these buildings? This was a question that came from community. We want to make sure. So, just out of respect, there was an issue with the microphones earlier as well. So I want to make sure that people can actually hear the question and the answer.
We'll answer that really quickly. You guys said this was coming before. Dark sky compliant. It's effectively a way of engineering these kinds of facilities, really any facility that's got like where the lights are pointed in a direction that does not create light pollution. It's a standard.
These are questions that were, okay, so what's gonna happen is they're gonna set up tables and you're gonna get to talk to them individually. But what they want to do is go ahead and they wanted to go ahead and address everyone as far as these questions, these main questions, for the people that don't have questions, that have not posed questions. This is just to give some information, that's all. And we want to thank them for coming. We want to thank them for having the courage to come, because Google has not came to talk. You know what? Okay. Will Avaio provide a detailed breakdown of its energy requirements? This should include the maximum power demand requested, expected annual consumption, and how the utility plans to deliver that power.
Yeah, we'll keep it simple for the stuff we've mostly covered, right? We have the contract for 150 megawatts. We're committed to reporting our power consumption. If it's less than that, we will be consuming close to that 150 megawatts continuously.
For energy storage, will long duration battery systems with 10 plus hours of storage be used? And if not, what battery technology and storage duration are proposed? And why was that option selected?
We will not be using any long-term battery storage. The power for the data center will come from the grid, as we discussed. There are batteries that would be within the data center in the event of a loss of power. They kick in for less than 5 minutes before the generators kick in. They're small batteries. There are no large battery storage units associated with this project in any way.
This one is in response to the comment made about fire suppression. What is the plan for fire protection in collaboration with the local fire departments? Given this fact that all of the areas have volunteer fire departments with limited equipment as well as response times.
Yeah, we're aware that the local fire departments are volunteer. We know that Arch Street is manned. And then if there's any support needed from professional fire departments, we will work on agreements such that the local the local volunteer departments can be supported by professionals when needed.
So there is one fact that we want to highlight that came from community, is that if there was a fire, the fire departments don't have the equipment currently. And is there an investment that Avaio will make to the fire departments in order to have the proper equipment?
We will work with the local fire departments. To be clear, the facility that we're building has to fall within standards for fire, effectively suppression. Thank you. The buildings themselves will have effectively a containment for up to 2 hours of any kind of fire that takes place within it, which is designed explicitly to make sure that there's adequate time for a response. But we will work with the local fire departments and volunteer departments to make sure that they have the equipment that they need and capabilities that they need in order to do it.
What about the lithium-ion battery?
But again, the lithium-ion batteries, the large batteries that we're talking about for battery storage, we're not using those at all. No, the large, not using the large ones. The UPS systems within the uninterruptible power supply will have batteries, but they're small scale.
And so, have you ever designed another data center like this one anyway? Nothing is
Oh, no, we're not going to keep yelling at. That's what we're not going to do. So I'm trying to give time for them to hear and respond to a question. But we would like to thank Avaio. If we're going to continue to yell out, we'll close out this portion, and you'll be able to answer and ask questions in a format at the tables. Would you like to answer that question, Tom?
Yeah, we have multiple people at our company that have been designing data center facilities in urban environments for more than 30 years. So yes.
Including a battery system.
At this time, we're now going to, they're going to take a break to move to the tables. You'll be able to approach them to ask questions. This is our effort to provide information to the community. We know that there's been other presentations where other people have gone to, but this is only the second time that we've discussed publicly the data center where everyone is invited. So we do appreciate the opportunity to host here. This was Avaio's meeting. We're here to support as a community. And with our JP and our state reps and our school board. So we do appreciate the time. And hopefully you do have other questions. Please submit them so that we can then respond appropriately. So at this time, we're going to take a break. Then we'll move to the tables and you'll be able to ask questions. Please partake of the food. We do appreciate you all's time.
You guys tell me states. Texas, Virginia, California, Georgia, at least 6 in like New Jersey. I mean 6 states.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor. Let me introduce myself to you.
They're gonna move to the tables.
I have a question.
I want to know. We'll see it. I know this is bullshit. Come here for a second.
The hot mic too. So.
No, I know. Come here, let me
I'm trying to get it out of my hand. 1 second, let me get this.
Hey, Judge, another bullshit session. Well done.
Come on, Judge. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that.
Excellent.
We don't have to do that.
No. I say bullshit in court.
I'm just giving these to them.
What's up, man?
This y'all's? This yours? Just trying to make sure you get them back.
Hey,
They walk away.
Can I be able to have an interview with you?
Sure. Oh, you go.
Okay, wait a minute, but what I hear you say that we want to be as transparent as possible. But what's not possible for you not being transparent? What are you not telling us? You said transparent as possible.
Like franchise fees that Entergy's giving you Entergy's giving you breaks on. Like the fact that you guys don't have buildings right now, but yet you're perpetrating all this information.
This is transparent.
You're not transparent.
No, they did
You're not transparent. Transparency doesn't start with NDAs and MOUs.
I mean, is this something that you can't tell us or disclose at the time?
Yeah,
because you're indicating that right now you've been as transparent as you can be at this very moment.
Right, because franchise fees, Entergy's franchise fees, they can't talk about. That's what they can't talk about. So how are you making all these promises and you don't have buildings up and running? You haven't completed anything. You have a lawsuit right now in California. Oh, you guys already settled that?
Yeah.
You want to talk about that lawsuit?
Sure.
We can see about what the problems were with
Yeah,
that.
and there was a reader back here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
So when we move out to the tables, the other people can't hear what we were asking. That's why we wanted to ask questions in the open. You guys are again controlling the narratives.
100%.
That we're not.
Look,
you didn't set it up.
We're not going to be able to answer everybody's questions all the time, but what we are trying to do is set up a sustainable process here where people in the community can continue to ask
But you're
questions.
coming
Why
into
aren't
us
there
late.
members of the
We're hearing
community
about
on
it
the
at the
community
Miss
beginning.
Riley, Miss Riley, I just want to say one thing. Come on over here.
You've
He
already
says that he's
established
bringing
these
bees.
community advisory
It's you.
boards.
We've
He's
got a
bringing
new group of
bees.
people that
He's
are
bringing
local, Matt
bees
Rainey,
to the data
some of the
center because
local
bees like data
officials.
center.
What
Do you
about
want to educate
citizens,
him on
not
data
elected
bees?
officials?
If you wanted to, you could come to our website, there's a form you fill out, and just tell us what your
Where?
concerns are.
We want, you know,
It's not.
You don't have data, and you don't have buildings, and you're not
The
doing
reason
it.
we become community advisory
She
board
runs
with local
apiaries.
officials
She
is because
runs
they're,
pollinators.
elected
connect you
and
with
have
our
been chosen by the
Wow.
people to represent them, represent their interests. What we want to do is
We
we want
are.
to get that community
Mayor
advisory
Rainey's
board.
been
actually
talking
they've
to
working
Noah
It's a
from
broad
our
spectrum. Fair enough.
And no,
Fair
I
enough, but
signed up
also-
to be on your
No,
company,
no,
and I
I
never
get
heard
it.
anything
It also
about it.
includes, folks in Little Rock,
All you've done is hide stuff.
from other organizations that aren't necessarily.
is there, do you have a,
The legislature sold everybody out.
do you have a list of where
People that are
your
on it?
other plants are and
So
the
we don't
communities
have,
they're in?
so as Avaio, we only have projects in development. Our team has built a bunch of data centers for other
That doesn't-
companies.
they
We brought this
signed
team together to do
MOUs,
this. We don't have any. Avaio has no operating data center as Avaio.
With the specs that you're presenting, do you have one exactly like what you're presenting
No,
already?
we don't.
So will be test dummies for you?
No.
Well,
The design we're building is already built, not by us, but by other folks around the country. And those
So we don't, those companies that took them over aren't here answering any of those
So I
questions.
understand.
Can
Again,
you
they're
give
not
us
here.
a list of the ones you built that, so we, I mean, again, at least we can check. And you are going to
Sure.
say you're not responsible for the current owners.
That's true. That's a fair statement. A company called Digital Realty. Most of the folks that we work with on our design, did our design for us, work with a company called Digital Realty. I mean, there are a lot of bad actors in the data center world out there. That's why, and I get it when people look and they see what other folks are doing, and it isn't always above board. That's why we're trying to do this.
Well, people are using digital data centers as a term for very different types of.
Right, we're not a crypto miner. We're not
Well, that's the
Bitcoin.
thing, because you're just renting it out to someone, right?
Yeah, but we operate.
So who are you renting it to?
It would be a company like, so it's like we build an apartment building, like we build the apartment building,
Right.
people come in back. It
So
would be
then-
like cloud companies. If
So
they're
then at that point, you're going to say we're not responsible for whatever they
we'd still
do.
be responsible for the operations.
So you don't, but you don't know who you're bringing in.
Well, but they would be putting in servers. The way that it works is we build the facility, right? And we're responsible for the emissions, we're responsible for the noise, we're responsible for those things. And there are rooms where they put their computers in and they run their.
But there, so you don't know
I can't deflect what they do with the computer. I mean, they're subject to law. They can't do things that are against the law.
what standards are you going to have, because it's the computers that require the water to keep them cool.
But it would be, yes, that's a good question. Our design is on us. Our operations, the operations of the water, power, all that's on us. The servers that go in there, they'll run their servers and we'll provide them with the power and they'll do the compute what they do, but they're not going to be responsible for the water. That's on us.
So I heard you talking about the wastewater, like from toilets and stuff.
Yeah.
The wastewater from the cooling system.
Yes.
Where is that going? Because
Stays in.
it stays in, so
Stays
you're
in.
never going to change it.
If we do, we'll take it, put it in a truck and take it away. But
Where?
to clear, the water would be.
Got to go somewhere.
Where is it going?
The water itself, it's a good question. The water is not treated with anything. It's not treated with metals. It's just running through pipes.
Right, but I've been seeing independent research where it's...
Are you going to affect my well water? Sorry,
No.
because I got 3 wells on my property.
Not going to affect your
Okay,
well.
well-
The water the water that we would dispose of, wastewater, is going to be going into the sewer system like if we were
from the
a movie
coolant?
theater or like
You're
McDonald's.
saying that's only from your toilets and your sink, but what are you about all the other water you're using?
Stays in the system. That water
You're
will
just
never make
cycling it and it never leaves.
that water will never make
So
its
for
way into the
20
system.
years from now, it's sitting in
That
your
water
system.
will never make its way into the system.
Well, that's the,
Not the
That
sewage
does.
system,
What do you
our
intend the
ground,
lifespan
our soil.
You're not going to.
I have a 100-year-old farm. Like, how are you gonna?
You're
You're
not
not
going to the ground.
no soil
No, that's
growth.
again. Letting the coolant out would be terrible for us. It's not like if we were being negligent and letting the coolant out, it would shut down our entire facility. We wouldn't do that.
Well, I want you guys to understand, because he kept saying y'all doing urban. This is rural. We're not urban.
No, he's saying that we've done stuff even in urban. It's a lot more.
Not right. You done stuff in urban. We're rural.
We've also
That's
done-
2 different things.
So our team has built data centers in urban and rural areas. He just said urban because urban's harder and tougher to keep.
Okay, y'all are building right next to my home
I understand.
and right next to my property line. We had plans for our property line. The minute you build, our properties are over. I mean, our plans are over. Because because we want it to be houses there. No one wants to live right next to you. So it's canceling out anybody that had plans for their property, that there are people, it's canceled because of what you guys are doing.
Where's your property? Curious.
I'm right there on 145th Street, 2805. Y'all, because y'all are, I already see y'all tearing down trees down there. I'm literally right there. And so it's like, we're literally right there. So how is the noise, everything affecting people that live right
So again,
there?
like that's why we the site was chosen, because it's big enough that we can build those two buildings way back from the road with the trees in between us. And we'll be completely clear. So we can tell you what equipment we're using. We're going to be putting walls around the generators. We're going to be putting baffle units around the air conditioning. It's all set up to do this.
Okay, y'all already y'all want to put up more power lines. That I know.
That'll be
where,
along the same route. We're not putting a new route. It'll be along the same existing route as it is right now.
But you are putting in more power lines.
Basically, it's going to be the power lines are run right now. We're just going to take well north of where you are. We're going to take a line. That line goes this way. We're going to cut a line across into a substation that's on our property. We'll build that substation, and it'll be standard.
So the line you're cutting across is going to be on
the one that
your
already existed. No, the line that goes across. Yes.
Is it going to be an underground line or?
No, it'll be it's wetlands.
You know, the trees here are blowing in. We have storms.
Yeah, but that's on us. That's on us. Like we'll build it. We're going to build a loop. Absolutely, and that's if it goes down. That's our problem, not yours.
So my thing is, okay, so our community doesn't want you guys here. And at this point, y'all started in 2020? When did you start? 2020?
2023.
Okay, and then y'all talk about transparency, but y'all been playing. You didn't ask.
People live on 145th Street, and no one knew.
No one knew.
No one knew. What kind of? How is that transparent?
Now instead of before, if you want to find out how the community feels about it,
because we want to.
Because at this point you're forcing it on us.
We want to see if there was a budget to do it.
But you're forcing it on us at this point.
But you guys aren't wanted here, just like your other places. They didn't want you.
But we put in place. It was 2025, and we went to the elected officials and said, "Okay, this is what we're proposing."
So it was their responsibility to get it to us? Is that what you're saying?
My understanding was they're fairly good. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I thought
so you're saying our justice of the peace is new?
I don't know. I don't know your justice.
Yeah. No, I know he was.
Need to vote that man.
But I'm just. Because at this point, you're forcing yourself on us. We made it very clear, very apparent that we don't want you here. And you're telling us, doesn't matter, we're going to be here anyway.
But it does matter, and they're not.
See, here's what I want to know. In your speech, you said, in response to a question that was asked, you said, I'm not an expert. Y'all spun off the ACOM. Y'all are experts.
No, me personally,
so,
I'm an expert in something.
Why didn't you be an expert? That's my question. You want us to trust you. You want us to understand you. Well, why didn't you bring them to speak with us?
Why weren't you here at the last meeting?
And why didn't you give us
numbers?
You didn't tell us how lightning fires are. You didn't tell us, when we. You said, you'll be able to see these things. You'll be able to read these things. When? Where? Give us actual details and not.
They can't. They don't have any buildings built. They don't. If you're having work done at your house, you want to know what the contractor has done before. You want to see those projects. Nothing is open. Everything they're telling you is not fact-based. It's what they want to do.
We don't have any data centers built about. Our team has built data centers. We don't have any data centers.
None of your data centers are open right now.
No, none of the ones that we have, I'm saying.
And why should we let you build something and then bring a tenant in that we don't even know who it is? Why would we do that? Why? Because it's a black and brown community? Because, is that why?
No, I told you, we've said the reason that we are here is because we can build this facility without having to build a bunch of
The reason why you are here is because the legislature passed stuff that gave you a cheap and free way here. You have franchise fees and you're going to make a lot of money, and you have legislatures in your back pocket. And you have Jay Cheshire, who wants the greatest economic on the back of all these people here.
How much money are y'all going to make off this?
They're going to rent it out.
I want to know. How much money y'all going to make off this?
That's what depends on who rents it. I don't know.
You have no projections. You have no idea.
Depends on who rents it. We have projections for what it would be.
So is it going to still run and cost us, but there's no one renting it yet? So how long are y'all just going to have that there, waiting for someone to rent it?
Right,
no one rents it.
We wouldn't build it without someone renting it.
So why are you even here? You're not gonna, are you going to build it? Are you not? What's happening?
We are going to build a facility.
What?
Probably it'll be ready for operations in the first quarter of 2020.
I thought you said you don't know who's renting it yet. What if no one rents it until 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030? Should I wait? Have that land? But you're still going to have that land, right? Are you gonna sell the land back for like a fuck ton of money to make profit? You do know?
No.
You don't know. So what's gonna happen? What is the future of this land that you bought?
Either we're going to develop a data center or we're not. I'm not sure.
And what are you gonna do if you're not? Are you gonna sell it back, or what are you gonna do?
What they would do would have to be within the zoning and whatever the rules are. You can't just force something down.
Well, but you already are.
Well, we've followed all the rules to this point. We've done everything we've done is been
I'm a member of media. I work for Organized Times. How do we get in touch with you? Because you know a lot of press have tried to reach out to you guys and we don't get anything.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Could I have your contact information?
Yes, we're on our website.
Yeah, but I don't get a response when I contact.
While you're getting that, sir, you mentioned 2 buildings.
Yes.
Are there plans for more?
So what we're talking about today is 2 buildings. The project could be expanded, but we'd have to go through a separate process for that. We'd have to come back to y'all and talk to y'all again.
How many are you?
There's a big site. We haven't said we're going to build it. We haven't said that.
You don't have a number in mind?
We don't have a plan of what we're going to build.
Well, what's in how many buildings can the parcel that you confiscated? How many can it?
That's a tough question. I mean,
is it more like 15?
Depends on how big and how small they are. But again, we're just going through the process for these 2 buildings.
And what type of community benefits will these people see? I read that most of these jobs, when they finish with the construction, they're temporary jobs. They'll be gone. You talked about 70 people.
That's permanent. Those are permanent.
70 permanent jobs. That's nothing. That's nothing.
I mean, they're good jobs. They start out typically
yeah,
like 75,000.
Sure they're going to be good jobs, but for who? Like the lady said, these people down here are mostly retired. They're retired. They're on Social Security. They're older.
Absolutely. We're working with the Community Advisory Board. We got a group of local folks.
Do you have a plan that you can put into writing that you can guarantee benefits for this community?
So, not now. We're finished. We're working with the Community Advisory Board.
Well, you got other plans.
It is fully our
Why
intention.
don't you have a plan like
Because
that
we're bringing together the Community Advisory Board of folks who are local. I can't tell you what's the best way to spend money here. You're going to know better than me. So we're working with the Community Advisory Board to figure out and to be clear, this is on top of taxes. Like, we'll pay taxes to Pulaski County. But we care, we're saying we also want to make sure that the folks who actually live around here, because I don't know what the county's going to do with those taxes.
I haven't read, I did some research on this. I have a family that lives, I don't live down here anymore, but with 2 data centers, one in Sweet Home, one in Wrightsville. You know about that one, right? Within 5 miles of each other. We're right in the middle of that mess.
So to answer your question with the community, it's our intention to set up a fund that will be spent on the local community. The Community Advisory Board is being put together to make sure that money goes to places that are actually useful. Because I can't tell you anything. That's our intention.
Breaks.
The state, not local. The state, every data center gets a tax break. Most states do that.
State, you get tax breaks. So you get tax breaks on like equipment when you come to buy equipment.
Yeah.
That's money that's leaving the state. If you're getting that tax break, why should you get it? You all are $1 billion companies. Why should you benefit from tax breaks when that money could be going into the community?
The state set up tax. Most states in the U.S. now have tax breaks for data centers because they're bringing in large investments. Pulaski County.
Who does it benefit from?
We're still paying a tremendous amount of tax in the state. We're also paying, you got no tax breaks in Pulaski County. Right? Like, to be clear, we're paying tax breaks in Pulaski County. And then the Community Advisory Board, I keep coming back to, that is set up to make sure that, and we intend to fund that. The money that will go to this community specific.
Let's say, for example, you talked about all these promises you made about the noise.
Yes.
Do you know how this facility, which is like a mile away from Daisy Bakes, do you know how the air pollution, the stuff that goes into the air, do you know how that's going to affect those kids?
We do.
You do? So you've done those studies?
Yes. And this is, remember now, the data center when it's running is not going to be running on any emissions. It's going to be from the grid. It's going to be connected to the grid. The grid's going to bring power in.
I have to see it to believe because I haven't read anything that where data centers do not cause noise, pollution, people have increased cancer rates, their cows don't produce anymore, their chickens don't lay eggs. You all have done studies on all that?
Not on chickens and eggs, no ma'am. We've done studies on how much noise they're going to be and what are the emissions from. Remember, the emissions are only from the emergency.
What happens if you're lying? What happens?
If I'm lying about,
what happens?
That's fair. I mean,
okay, are there ramifications for
we will
your
make.
company?
We will make. That's the point. We'll make commitments. We will make written
And I'm
commitments.
not talking like small amounts. There need to be big amounts of fines. I know companies like you, $20 million is nothing. It needs to be big money that you give back to these communities and these schools and these kids because they're not able to fight companies like yours.
That's fair.
And I hope you're not lying, but I can't say that you're not. Because most of the time, all you guys do is come in here, get with the governor, don't mention that helper. Get with them, you make agreements behind closed doors, and we find out about it like 2 or 3 years later. You guys have been working on this for a long time. Then you bring it to us. How do we know we can trust you? What you say?
You don't, man. The only way you know to trust is that we will.
Thank you for that.
You don't know me from Adam.
I don't.
But
I do know what I read, and I know that you guys will lie.
Ma'am, you guys, you mean data centers in general or us specifically? Because we have not lied to this community, man. We haven't.
Well, you haven't been in this community before. Where are your other facilities?
We have no facilities operating. We have no facilities operating. No, we have no facilities operating. We're building facilities here, Jackson, San Francisco, California, and Richmond, Virginia.
Where are you two from?
Originally?
Or where do you live now?
Thank you for your time.
Connecticut, New York. Thank you, man.
Business
You won my
card?
call.
Yes.
She had a hard runoff. Is there any runoff?
Yeah. I have a question. So I'm with the Democrat so I gotta get a question.
Absolutely.
You were saying, or one of you was saying that this is for like cloud computing and processing credit cards and that sort of thing. And my understanding is that a lot of the data center capacity being built right now is for training future artificial intelligence models, and that the data centers that are already built can handle current capacity, and that's not really true, that new capacity is doing basic activities, but it's more going towards this like speculative AI world that doesn't exist yet.
Well, there's training AI, there's training of AI, and there's inference of AI. Inference is the actual use. Now, when you talk about inference, cloud and inference are really coming together. Like AI is now being used for cloud, for all the things that we're doing on our phones. AI is now being used for live. So that will be, like, there will be an AI element to any cloud compute that's going to be used from now on. So I don't want to say there's no AI here, because any cloud compute is going to include AI. Does that make sense?
Well, are there going to, is the facility for, it's for future usage, I guess is what I'm trying to understand. Right.
It'll be used for compute starting in 2028.
Yeah.
However that compute manifests, that will be starting in 2028. The servers will be brought in then will be different.
Training large language models?
Possibly. But the intent is to have this be a cloud compute. But within any cloud, to be clear, like AI is now part of all the cloud compute too. Like when you use your phone, medical records, all those things, there's now an AI element to that too.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'll reach out. Elizabeth, it's fine.
John.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay, question.
Yes.
You stated that Placer County School District would get Placer County School District. How much you said they would get? 80.
Pulaski County School District. What was it's 80% of the taxes?
So what the community get?
So it's a really good question. This is why we set up the community advisory group. So it is our intention to add additional funds to what we're paying in taxes.
So why
will go
why
to
do
this
you have
community.
NDAs?
We understand we pay taxes to I mean, the county,
we
not
don't
everybody
really.
sees it.
They
So,
were.
we're
3
setting
months
up the
ago, when I
community
talked to my
advisory
state
board, which includes
representative,
elected members.
she knew
there.
nothing
It's
about
really
the project
representatives from the
at all.
We definitely don't have any
that will
NDA
help us
signed with
to
the state rep. So
figure out how
if
to
she didn't know about it, then
we'll put
Unfortunately,
together
your
a fund.
sales
It's our
lady
intention
also
to put a
never
fund.
didn't
We
reply
haven't
to
put that all
my
together yet
emails.
because we're still working with the
How
county.
long that's gonna take you?
No, she said, I don't know anything whatsoever about the project.
who's your
And
rep?
who's putting it together?
We are. Avaio. Avaio is.
Anyways,
We've gotten her plugged in, and she's part of the community advisory group. So we're trying to make sure she is informed.
University of Arkansas, Little Rock, we got representatives from there. We got a bunch
anyway,
of representatives. It's trying to bring our
so
view is,
can we expect
come in here and say, here's what's great about it. We're not going to go with the best way to put it. We don't know that. We want to work with local representatives, whatever. They are going to
Well, that's an easy one-word answer. But
it is
the difference between 100
So, what happened?
Yeah, that's why we're taking it one step at a time. The first 150 has to be
I mean,
successful.
there's places, there's data centers that are set up.
It's a little worrisome.
On paper
And you've
where
never built one of these before?
It's coming from natural gas.
Not
centers.
as part of this company.
In some cases,
But like I said, the team has, we have multiple
we're
team
not
members
doing
with
that,
over
but
30
that
years
exists.
experience
In those
building.
places, in
Well, there's
Masonville,
horror stories
there's places where
about
data centers
that's
were
why
built.
there's
There's data centers here and a house in Switzerland, especially in Northern Virginia. There's noise in that case, 100%, especially older
I think
data
there's
centers.
a looming question that these ladies and other community members want to get addressed. In terms of the water, you mentioned a closed loop system.
That's correct. Yes.
How far is the
So
center gonna be from
if a closed loop would imply that once you have the water that's needed, you would keep regenerating that water.
Yeah.
Why is there a need for new
you go under some power
gallonage
lines,
each day?
That's really just, so if you're,
So you'll
I
be.
mean, I don't want to be, it's just toilets, water, fixing.
That's about, you said about 30 gallons, 25 gallons a day or something per person. But you're using,
And then irrigation, so we'll have plants around the building.
Okay.
And that's basically the map is that's a half inch of water on a half acre. On top of the water.
We'll put a street, there'll be a street in between a couple
water
of buildings that will
supplies
go
for
up.
the data
It's gonna be
center.
a-
That's correct.
But it'll be a new.
When we fill up that loop, it's about it's 250,000 gallons in the loop. And so that's one charge, and then it's charged.
What happens to that water after it's used? Just keeps being used over and over?
I'm probably the only one. Is it possible to have a copy of And so what happens if there's a spill or contamination in the water? How are y'all gonna treat that?
The water doesn't have like caustic chemicals in it in the line. It's mostly just water and some antibacterial. So if it spills out a little bit, first we have spill containment. So anything that happens in the building where that water line is will be contained within the building and we'll be able to clean it up.
And what is you doing with that cleanup?
We would basically haul that off site because it would be in rags and mops, etc. But
And where are you hauling it off site? It's still not there.
The water is not
Sorry,
charged.
maybe I'm not answering the
I
question.
think the issue is you were concerned about the water being charged to ions because it's a data center. But that water is being recirculated to infinity.
Yeah, I mean, slowly something comes, like we'll have to, so say a section of pipe needs to be replaced. We have taps on the end of, we have sections that we can isolate of those pipes. Pipe has a little water in it, little water comes out, it's not a big deal. And again, there's nothing in that water there's no like chemicals in that water. So like, it's just
used to cool the data centers.
Yeah, so the way it works is the air conditioners outside cool the water in the pipe, right? And so that cold water goes in the building, collects the heat from the computers, goes back out to the air conditioners. The air conditioners cool the water back down, and it goes back in. So that's the loop we're talking about.
Because remember, when people build utilities,
So instead of like cooling air and blowing air into the building, cooling water and putting water in the building, really that cold water is in the building, we blow fans over it, cools everything down.
The rest of the water is just regular
faucets, drinks,
access to power. It's not going to require.
And
you don't look sold. Is there any example of that that's already in play? You have a data center that you guys are building in LA.
It's like It's like northeast of San Francisco, but yeah.
Does it have a closed loop system?
That has a closed loop system.
Is it operational at this point?
That's not operational.
So none of your data centers that you're proposing right now are operational.
They're not operational, no.
So these are all in theory of how it should work.
Yes, and they're designed by people who have more than 30 years of experience in the industry building these complex areas.
Oh, is there a closed loop system that they can reference that's in existence that's not a part of your company?
Yes. There's a significant amount of them out there. Not the newer ones especially have closed loop systems because a lot more people are paying attention to the water consumption. Because the offset really is if you use what's called evaporative cooling, it uses a lot of water, evaporates into the atmosphere, and that's how the heat gets out. They don't use like air conditioners, they use cooling towers, and that's more of an older design that people aren't using so much because it uses so much water. The benefit of that to those old buildings is they're a little more power efficient. It doesn't take as much power to cool if you're evaporating as it does if you're close to it. So that's a trade-off.
And can you tell me what of these companies so we can research that has this already in place?
Digital Realty, Vantage Data Centers.
Write it down.
I got it. I believe mine is
right. We can follow up too. But Vantage Data Centers, Digital Realty, I believe Align Data Centers, and Leon would be 4 examples.
And what state are those? Well, you know by chance.
They're all in Virginia for sure. AWS uses that. Also, so does Microsoft now, the newer ones. So AWS in Mississippi.
Electrical, plumbing. In some cases, it'll be working for the actual servers, doing networking, making the networks work, security.
I have
And typically these jobs.
What is the lifespan of this building? What are y'all planning for?
I'll be honest with you, it's not a lot of jobs. We're always looking at that.
The building will be, basically at least a 50-year time horizon. The first lease that we'll sign is 20 years renewable for up to 35, and then we'll continue to maintain it after that.
It's harder to get that.
My fear is with all these huge hyperscale data centers that are being built, the technology is changing so fast, and I know that they have to be working on a way to make it fit in small, like our phones and our watches, right? And so they're working on a way to make those mainframes smaller too, or to do it in outer space, or do it somewhere else, so they don't have all these problems and lawsuits and everything else going on. So I hate for all those trees to be cut down, and this be zoned industrial for something that could be 10 years from now.
So there's a couple of advantages to how we're set up to try to capitalize on that. It's not perfect, if everything goes to space, everything goes to space. But right now the power grid is getting more constrained, right? Entergy's not just like giving anybody else power, right? And so that's going to continue to be a constraint. So the computers in the building might get smaller, but the building is still situated to deliver that power to the computers. And so long term, that demand's not going down, at least not, unless there's some really massive change. But even like if data centers do go to space, there's a good use for them here.
I'm concerned, and one of the things that's different about y'all's project and the Google project, they're building their own, they're coming in, and I know that they may be possibly leasing this one too. But what restrictions or what will be those constraints on the DC? Are they going to meet those same sound standards? Are they going to be able to meet those same water standards?
That's a good question. So since we're building the building, we're basically controlling the water, we're controlling the power, and we're controlling the building equipment. So the stuff that's making noise, that's us. The tenant will come in and I always worried I speak too much engineering, so tell me to stop if I am. But they're basically just installing the computers in a room like this. It's not this big, but they'll come in and they'll install the racks and racks and racks and racks of computers. And
I started out on him. I was the first person I knew who had a personal computer.
you know better than I do.
Yeah, I remember when they took a giant rooms and we just had a video display terminal that was connected, and he thought we were hot stuff.
There's brief story. When I was in college, there was like the first computer in the Data Center, and they had it in there, and it was like, you know, as big as the blue padding on the wall and like 10 feet thick, you know, so they've come a long way, and they're a lot more dense than they were 5 years ago. But again, we're designing that to be able to, we've actually shrunk the building recently because we could fit more, and we're trying to future-proof for that. But ultimately, they're going to come in and they're going to plug their computers in and then basically lease the facility from us. So they're not in charge of the water consumption for cooling, we are. They're not in charge of running the backup generators, we are. And so they don't, in terms of like community impact, they're in charge of managing the waste from those computers. Like when they recycle them, they have their own recycling plants that they have to manage, but everything else will be us. And so they're not going to dictate.
Well, that's part of the fire concerns. When you have a building full of computers and it burns and those melt down, you've got a hazardous waste site.
Yes, so we pay close attention to that in the design, and you know, our structure is concrete, right, and it's fire rated. And we're paying attention to that to minimize any potential impact. We also have early detection systems that are more advanced than in office buildings that help if the temperature is going up in an area, it flags it immediately so we can focus the fire suppression on it and focus it quickly. Same thing with early smoke detection, right? But we're paying attention to it, and the best designs that we can do, we're going to do.
That is a huge concern out here, and part of it because we got a lot of older homes or ones that are probably not the safest ones to be living in, and so people see firsthand the disasters of fire. And you know, the volunteer fire departments right here, we hear it called out all the time. So, you know, it is a big concern. It's something, you know, we see the big fires on TV and stuff.
And one of the things that we've developed, we have people at the company who have a lot of experience with this, but they basically have, it's almost an industry standard now, but there is a fire training manual that we will work with the fire department to say, here's, you know, they'll know exactly where all of our equipment is, and everything's clearly labeled and it's subject to that research. But I guess what I'm saying is we'll work with that fire department so that everybody's well trained on if a fire happens in the building, where could it happen, and they would know exactly where it was to fight it as efficiently as possible.
Hello. Hi, how you doing?
I'm okay, how are you?
Well, I'm not necessarily a resident in this community, but I came to the meeting because I just wanted to better understand data centers in general.
Okay.
So I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, but I wanted to know what was all the negative reasoning behind the data center. And I'm not sure, I don't get it, but I know, for instance, you know, they said the noise levels. Well, he was in Olive Branch, Mississippi, Horn Lake.
Where?
Horn Lake, Mississippi. That's a data center there. And they talked about
Is that near Jackson? I don't know where Horn Lake is.
No, it's closer to Memphis. It's closer to Memphis.
Oh, okay.
So that's a data center now. And he was in the car. He said he heard nothing.
Okay.
So where's all this negative press
Call me?
So
I'm sorry.
I don't understand why
probably not hearing him right now because when you were there, making them when they're running the generator like they want.
But the generators only kick in based on what you're saying. And I understand that
there's a power short.
So here's the difference.
So that was before.
That's true. Yeah. In the last 10 years, it's a couple hours.
A couple hours a year?
A year.
A couple hours a year. So what are we talking about? Right here, it's a couple hours a year. Is somebody blowing all this stuff unnecessary?
I mean, depends on who you have a lot of cooling. So one of the reasons that's the noise emitter that's continuous, is the air conditioners. Right, so that's what we're paying a lot of attention to.
So that's the noise they're talking about.
That's the constant.
I think it's like tractor trailer size, aren't they?
They're like like a pod's moving in storage container. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, something like that.
But based on what you said, they, go 100 feet, and you said the noise.
You're gonna easily talk over them for sure at 100 feet, and then at the property line. That's why we really like this site, for example, is because we can really be set back. We don't want the community to hear us, right? We don't want the community to see the buildings because
that's the thing. You can sound travels further than the site does.
Yes.
Okay. So let me understand. The nearest residence to you then would be
About 800 feet.
and 800 feet. Should you sit 800 feet away in our house and hear you?
Should no.
Okay. So now you seem to be a little skeptical.
Well, and just because reports of people who live close to them.
Okay, so
and
now-
I also know, and this is maybe
Don't take over my conversation. So I just want to add a little bit. I ain't gonna be here all night.
But yeah, thank you for
Okay, so
asking.
800 feet. So what they're going on is hearsay, right? Sounds like.
Well, there are communities where data center companies have come in and they've built these facilities without any sound attenuation right next to homes.
That's what I was going to say. So is
that's very
that
much
so?
true.
So part of your explanation seemed to me would have been just what you just said. Said, but we are not. Had you added that piece to your conversations and where they hear the noise is where the data center was moving set up residents. But we learning from their mistake, we're not going to do that.
That's what I was trying to say, but you're 100%.
But you didn't say it like that.
No, I didn't.
So I'm just saying, I'm really, I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but I just want to know what all the rigmarole about.
One of the things too, just to add some color, I think the one up in South Haven or really Memphis, they put engines in there to power their own facilities.
Yeah,
Right?
which they didn't do it right.
Right, and they didn't engineer smart systems.
So this is what everybody we want community. I was talking about. They got one in Memphis, and blah blah blah. Should have said the one they got in Memphis. So if I can just give you any little thing,
Here's how.
that would help a lot. Because I like the 80% of the tax revenue that goes to the school district. The school district needs that. But I'm just saying that if I can give you that little piece of advice, dispel some of this bad mess out here. And say it. In South Haven,
I live in New York.
Nice to meet you.
Love to engage with you guys.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that because I'm trying to better understand of all. And I don't have
One of the things we try to do, I mean, the tough thing is that these facilities are kind of few and far between at this point, unless you're in like Virginia, San Francisco. But people go to ones that are well built, similar to ours. Like we're developing one outside of Jackson, Mississippi. That's why I raised it. And north of Jackson, there's another data center facility going in that's very visible. Like you can drive up, you can see it, you can hear it. The mayor of that town actually drove right up, stood 100 yards from the building and had a sound meter in his hand, just to show his board, like, hey, here's the sound level.
Who do we report that to when y'all exceed it? Because as these equipments get older, they're going to get louder. So who do we report that to, and how are y'all fine by that?
Okay, I got you.
Well,
Yeah,
we would work with the county a little bit because right now there's not a noise ordinance that keeps us there, so we would have to work that out with the county.
So you don't have an answer for who we report the noise.
I mean, you would report it to the county planning.
They don't give you
Or call the sheriff's office and they'll point in the right direction.
But it's called solar.
I'm just trying to better understand it both ways because I don't see all the reasons.
Yeah, and maybe I'm too nice too because what I don't like to do is say, hey, here's who did it bad.
You need to. Sitting in the audience with a neutral third party, that would have went a long way had you said that. Because
like
I know you're not trying to blast any other company, but
like one of the reasons we're facing so much flack, honestly, is because of what Croft or whatever they did in Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee, frankly. They basically had a natural gas connection. And they just imported all these temporary, enormously loud generators to light a building extremely quickly, paid no attention to the noise engineering, and lit it up. We're not doing that.
And that's what you should have told that story, just like you said, but we're not doing it. I'm saying if you do another, you got to do it that way. That make the difference.
I appreciate it.
And I'm just trying to understand. Now people think here that this is a low-income area. It's mostly black, and they think you're doing it here because people don't care about this community. Now, how would you overcome that?
I mean,
they said, why are you putting it here? They said, we're not crazy. They're not putting it here for any reason. Why didn't they go to West Little Rock?
It might not be.
And I said, first off, because the land is so much cheaper here. Duh.
Well, really, it's West Little Rock's very hilly and there's no power.
Okay, that was the point. And you can say, people ask us, why do we put it here? And they said, why not West Little Rock? Well, one reason West Little Rock is it's hilly, and number two, they don't have the power you have. And number three, it's so much cheaper here. We're business people too. People understand that.
I mean, the other point of that is like, you know, data centers are in all kinds of communities, right? Where they are in San Francisco, it's a very expensive neighborhood, excuse me. And where they are in Virginia is a very expensive neighborhood, and that's because those data centers like to talk to each other.
Oh, sure.
That's changing as time goes on, so they're getting further out like we are here.
But you should have said that. Because people think you're putting in poor neighborhoods. You can say,
what we want to do too is like we want this to be a benefit to the community, so it throws some jobs, so it throws that tax revenue, and you don't see it, you don't hear it, it's out of sight, and you can work there. You know, like that's what we're trying to do.
you need to speak very straightforward, like just like that. Because nobody out there, and I'm just being a neutral third party.
Yeah, they say they charge.
I really appreciate this feedback. It's very helpful.
You can go to 50 bucks a day.
That's what
What's your name again?
I'm Jackie, but
Jackie,
I'm just
thank
a
you.
neutral third party.
I appreciate the feedback.
And I just wanted to understand why people are so against data centers. And I didn't get it from this meeting that they are bad things. I didn't get it. So I'm just trying to understand why these residents.
Personally, I think they're a good thing in the right place. If they're designed well, they're in the right place. We try to pick an industrial neighborhood.
If I was giving that same speech, I would have spoke on the level of the people here, and I would have said the things I just told you.
Yeah. I will.
I did that example. I did that example. In San Francisco, they had a very expensive neighborhood. In Virginia, in a very expensive neighborhood. So you asked me why did I not put it in West Little Rock? I'm gonna tell you why. Because, and I would have said it just straightforward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And plus, I said we're business people. Land is cheaper here.
Yeah.
We want to.
Yes.
I would have said that, and people, we can understand that.
That's fair. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ain't gonna be long.
Hey, sorry, yeah.
I know you thirsty.
Yeah. Sorry, I know I'm caught up, man, but
yeah. I already got your number. Well, I guess it's your attorney. So that's my partner.
Oh, sure.
So my wife's family owns, you already spoke with her, Councilman Lockhart.
Yes.
So, long story short, her family owns 80 acres on our 45th. And then we have a 10-acre site that we want to develop. We want to build
cool.
like 27 homes, 1,427 square foot. So he actually want to sell the project. We already got approved by Judge Hyde. So we can sell the project, like the land.
We fall down anywhere.
And the project.
I'm trying to think anything I said was gonna bite me on the ass at some point, but I couldn't.
It's a 10.5 minute process.
Couldn't think of anything.
Y'all
Sounds like he's got it. Yes.
So the funding we try to get.
What do you guys think?
I think you got.
And then we
I think you got a small number of people.
So he told me just to send the plans to that.
Start things up.
You have the email.
You always will.
You met the ringleader.
Send it to him. He'll send it
Which
to
one
us.
is that?
The short hair lady.
Houses are right outside of our valley.
What's her story? She's the one who was holding up the sign.
Every meeting. You can listen to her accent. She's not.
Okay.
She lives in
I'd be
Little Rock.
curious to have a conversation, just talk about like.
So she came down from the city of Little Rock to come down.
On the front part of it,
Oh, so she's
She's not part of it.
like 6,500.
Yeah, there's several
Double air.
not
It'd be
part of the
14,000 square foot.
And that's what the mayor was concerned
So
about.
y'all can use like
That's one of the things.
Space.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things. Maybe not for our office specifically, but
I think you'd have teams more after this if she could do
jobs
it.
like this.
Yeah.
That's the
Not
thing.
just
Yeah,
people working there, but there's
she's got her own road to hell.
more of a need for a facility like this.
Hey, y'all don't want to get a cocktail?
That's all I have.
No, yeah,
I appreciate it.
No, I think I'm good, man.
Okay.
I think I'm good. I appreciate it. Well, no, yes, thank you.
I'm gonna send him a cocktail email and we'll be in
Yeah,
touch.
and are you guys going to stay in Cabo Hotel?
I'm going to be able to have a hotel.
That's what I was saying.
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, have a safe trip. Can I get a cocktail at Cabo Hotel?
Good dinner and go to bed, but yeah.
Tom? We can make it
Let me
fast.
see how thick your skin.
It's a quick debrief.
Yeah, quick debrief.
Who's that?
Hello. Just fine. Call Blake or email Blake or whatever. Yeah, good to see you. Pardon?
Oh, okay. Oh.
John had some like simple. Wouldn't even let him answer that. Like if he started answering questions.
Probably.